The ping from my encrypted phone cut through the hum of servers in my Manhattan penthouse office at exactly 2:47 a.m. I was 3 hours deep into orchestrating a simulated cyber attack for a Fortune 400 client when Marcus's message flashed across my screen. 3 words that made my blood run cold, then boil hot. "They're coming for you." Attached was a digital file packed with evidence that would terrify even the most experienced hacker. Bank records, fabricated tax documents, emails I'd never written, and, at the centre of it all, my sister Bella's digital fingerprints, sloppy and desperate hiring, not just a private investigator to dig up dirt on me, but paying a team of hackers to plant evidence that would send me to federal prison for tax evasion and money laundering. The cherry on top, she timed it all to explode 2 days before our grandmother's 90th birthday gala, the one event that could still make me care about the Vance family name. I want to pause right here and ask you something. Have you ever discovered that the people who were supposed to love you were actively plotting your destruction? If this story resonates with you, or if you've ever had to cut ties with toxic family members, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support means everything, and I read every single comment. Now let me take you back to how I got here, because this war didn't start that night. It started 28 years ago when I was born. My name is Harper Vance, though for the longest time I wondered if I even deserved to carry that name. I was the second daughter, the one who came 5 years after Bella the golden child, who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. Growing up in the Hamptons in a mansion that overlooked the ocean, you'd think I had everything. And I did everything except the one thing that mattered. Love. Real, unconditional love. From the moment I could form memories, I knew I was different. Bella got piano lessons with a renowned instructor from Juilliard. I got hand-me-down books and told to teach myself. Bella's birthday parties were catered events with ponies and professional photographers. Mine were afterthoughts, usually combined with some other family obligation to save money. When I was 7, I asked my mother Eleanor why Santa always brought Bella the expensive American Girl dolls I circled in the catalogue while I got generic toys from Target. She looked at me with those cold blue eyes and said, "Because Bella appreciates nice things, Harper. You just break them anyway." That was the first time I understood. I wasn't less loved. I was unloved. My father Douglas was worse in his own way. He was a Wall Street executive, the kind of man who measured human worth in dollar signs and social connections. Bella was beautiful, charming, everything a society daughter should be. I was awkward, preferred computers to cotillions, asked too many questions. By the time I was 12, I'd stopped trying to get his attention. By 15, I'd stopped hoping he'd come to my robotics competitions the way he never missed Bella's debutante events. The only person in that entire family who saw me was my grandmother, Patricia Vance. She came from a wealthy family that had been rich for generations, the genuine article, and beneath her elegant pearls and Chanel suits was a woman with an iron will. She'd pull me aside at family dinners and whisper, "You're the smart one, Harper. Don't let them break you." When I got accepted to MIT at 16 on a full scholarship for computer science, she was the only one who cried happy tears. My parents. My father said it was a waste, and that I should have aimed for an Ivy League school that mattered socially. My mother worried about how it would look that I needed a scholarship. I should have left and never looked back then, but I was young and stupid and still hoped that maybe, just maybe, if I proved myself, they'd finally see me. I graduated top of my class at 19, started my first cybersecurity company at 20, sold it for $20 million at 23. Every achievement I thought would be the one that made them proud. Instead, each success seemed to make them resent me more. Bella had married a hedge fund manager, gotten divorced, married a tech entrepreneur, gotten divorced again. She lived off alimony and our parents' money volunteering for charities and posting Instagram photos of her philanthropic work. Meanwhile, I was building an empire, quite literally changing how corporations protected themselves from cyber threats. The family dinners became war zones. Bella would make comments about how sad it was that I was still single while she'd experienced real love twice. Eleanor would sigh about how I worked too much. and would never understand the importance of family and tradition. Douglas would barely acknowledge my presence unless he needed an introduction to one of my tech CEO clients. But I kept showing up, kept trying, kept hoping. 3 years ago, I made my biggest mistake. Bella called me crying, absolutely hysterical. Her second husband had cleaned out their joint accounts and fled to the Caymans. She was broke, facing eviction from her Upper East Side apartment. "Please, Harper," she sobbed. "You're my sister. I have nowhere else to turn." Against every instinct screaming at me to run, I wired her $500,000, $500,000 to get back on her feet. She promised to pay me back, promised this would change things between us, promised she finally understood how hard I'd worked. That money disappeared into designer clothes, a new Range Rover, and a 6-month trip to Europe with her friends. When I asked about repayment, she laughed. Actually, laughed. "Oh, Harper, don't be so middle class about money. We're family. What's yours is mine." When I pressed harder, my parents intervened. My mother called me selfish and obsessed with money. My father said I was ruining family harmony over pocket change. Pocket change. $500,000 of my hard-earned money was pocket change to them because they'd never earned a dollar themselves through actual work. I started pulling away after that, stopped returning calls as quickly, made excuses to miss dinners, built my life in Manhattan in my glass and steel high-rise, surrounded by my team of brilliant misfits and outcasts who'd also been rejected by families that didn't understand them. I found my real family there in the glow of computer screens and the thrill of outsmarting the world's most sophisticated hackers. My company, Fortress Security Solutions, became one of the top 3 cybersecurity firms in North America. We protected banks, hospitals, government agencies. I had a penthouse that overlooked Central Park, a garage full of cars I never drove because I preferred working and more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. But I still couldn't shake that little girl inside me who just wanted her father to say, "I'm proud of you," and mean it. Then came the call about Grandma Patricia's 90th birthday. My mother's voice was saccharine sweet on the phone, the way it only got when she wanted something. "Harper, darling, we simply must have you there. It wouldn't be complete without both our daughters. And you know how much your grandmother adores you." The unspoken message was clear. Show up and play happy family or be the villain who broke an old woman's heart. I agreed to come. But I also did what I always do. I prepared. I had Marcus, my head of intelligence, and my closest friend run background checks on everyone who'd be at the gala. Standard security protocol for a public event where I'd be present. That's when we found the first irregularities in Bella's charity foundation finances. Nothing concrete yet, but enough smoke to suggest fire. I should have known then that something was wrong. Should have trusted my instincts. But I was still, even after everything, that stupid little girl hoping for a miracle. 2 weeks before the gala, I got the formal invitation. It was addressed to Harper Vance and guest, in my mother's perfect calligraphy. There was a note tucked inside. "Perhaps you could bring someone presentable this time, dear. Remember, this is a society event." I'd never brought anyone unpresentable to their events. I'd simply never brought anyone at all because subjecting someone I cared about to my family felt like cruel and unusual punishment. I RSVP'd yes solo, and I kept digging into Bella's finances because something felt off. That's when Marcus found it. $2 million siphoned from a children's cancer charity Bella chaired, funneled through a series of shell companies into personal accounts. The money trail led to a penthouse she'd rented under a fake name for her 24-year-old fitness instructor boyfriend casino debts in Atlantic City, and designer shopping sprees that could fund a small country's GDP. I sat in my office staring at the evidence, feeling something I'd never felt before. Not anger, not hurt. Something colder. Something that felt like clarity, sharp and bright and absolute. My sister was a thief who stole from children with cancer, and my family would protect her anyway. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I did what I do best. I gathered more evidence. I built an airtight case. And I waited. That's when Marcus sent me that 2:47 a.m. message that started this whole story. Bella hadn't just stolen money. She'd realised I was onto her, and she'd decided the best defence was a good offence. Destroy me before I could destroy her. The fabricated evidence was good. Not perfect, but good enough to cause serious problems. Tax documents showing I'd hidden income in offshore accounts. Emails from me to foreign entities offering to sell proprietary security information. Bank statements that didn't quite match my actual accounts. If she'd turned this over to the authorities, I'd have spent months, maybe years, fighting to clear my name. My company would have suffered. My reputation, everything I'd built, could have crumbled. But Bella had made one critical mistake. She'd hired cheap talent hackers from dark web forums who talked too much and covered their tracks badly. Marcus had connections in places most people didn't know existed. Within an hour of receiving her message, we traced everything back to its source. Within 3 hours, we'd identified everyone in her little conspiracy. Within 6 hours, I'd made a decision. If Bella wanted war, I'd give her Armageddon. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I called in favours. I had friends at the FBI who owed me for help with cases. I had contacts at the IRS who'd used my firm's expertise to track down tax cheats. I had lawyers who specialised in white-collar crime. By sunrise, I had a plan that would have made Sun Tzu proud. First step was turning Reed, the private investigator Bella had hired. I had Marcus reach out through back channels. Reed was a former cop, still had a conscience buried under the cynicism. When we showed him evidence that Bella was planning to use him as a fall guy, if things went wrong that she'd already created a paper trail, making it look like he'd acted alone, he cracked. I offered him 5 times what Bella was paying immunity from prosecution and a clean exit from her insanity. He took it. More than that, he agreed to keep feeding Bella false information, making her think her plan was working perfectly. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. I worked with the FBI to build a case against Bella for charity fraud. The IRS was already interested once they saw the money trail. But I needed more. I needed my parents to expose themselves for the moral vacuums they were. That's where the dinner came in. I showed up at the family estate in the Hamptons unannounced 36 hours before the gala. It was early evening, that golden hour where the setting sun painted everything in deceptive beauty. I walked through the front door. Using the key, I'd never returned, my heels clicking on the marble floors I'd once slid across in sock feet as a child. They were all in the dining room. My father at the head of the table, my mother to his right, Bella across from her. Crystal glasses full of wine that cost more than most people's monthly rent. A scene of perfect family harmony except for the tension that crackled through the air when I appeared in the doorway. "Harper," my mother said, her voice tight. "We weren't expecting you until the gala." "I know," I said, walking to the empty chair at the foot of the table facing my father. I sat without being invited, poured myself wine from the bottle and smiled. "I thought we should have a family conversation first. Clear the air." Bella's face was a mask of barely contained panic, but she played it cool. "How lovely. Although you could have called first, sister dear. We were just discussing the charity auction for Saturday." "Funny you should mention charity," I said, reaching into my bag and pulling out a folder. I slid it across the polished mahogany table. It landed perfectly in front of my father. "I've been looking into your charity work, Bella. It's fascinating. Really impressive numbers." My father opened the folder. I watched his face as he scanned the documents inside. Bank statements, transaction records, photos of the penthouse, everything except the truly damning evidence. I was saving that. "What is this?" His voice was low dangerous. "That's $2 million of children's cancer charity money that your golden daughter stole to fund her boyfriend and her gambling addiction," I said calmly, sipping my wine. "I thought you should know before it becomes public knowledge." The explosion was immediate. Bella lunged across the table, screaming that I was lying, that I'd fabricated everything, that I was jealous and pathetic. My mother grabbed her arm, pulling her back, but her eyes were on me, full of cold hatred. "How dare you come into this house and make such accusations? How dare I?" I almost laughed. How dare I discover that my sister is a thief and a fraud? How dare I care that children with cancer were robbed? Is that really what you're asking me? Mother, this is clearly doctored, my father said, though his voice lacked conviction. He knew financial documents. He knew these were real. You've always been jealous of your sister. This is a new low even for you. That's when I played my trump card. I pulled out my phone and played an audio recording. Bella's voice crystal clear, talking to Reed on the phone. I don't care what you have to do. Create emails, plant evidence, make it look like she's been selling state secrets for all I care. Just destroy her before she destroys me. My parents will cover the legal costs. The silence that followed was deafening. Bella's face went from red to white. You're recording me! You psychotic bitch, that's illegal. Actually, New York is a one-party consent state for recordings, I said pleasantly. And the person who recorded this was Reed, who you hired. He came to me 3 days ago, terrified you were setting him up. Turns out you were. He's cooperating with the FBI now. I stood up, setting my wine glass down gently. I'm going to give you all a choice. Bella can turn herself in return the money she stole and face the music. The family can issue a statement condemning her actions and cooperating with authorities. Or you can try to cover this up and protect her, and I will bury all of you. That's when my father stood up. I saw his hand move, but didn't process it until I felt the sharp crack of his palm across my face hard enough to split my lip. My head snapped to the side, and for a moment the world went silent, except for the ringing in my ears. You ungrateful little bitch, he snarled. You dare come into my house and threaten this family. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. Just a mistake we've had to tolerate. I touched my lips, saw the blood on my fingers. Something inside me, the last fragile thread connecting me to these people, snapped. I looked at my father, at this man who was supposed to protect me, who just struck me for telling the truth, and I felt nothing. No pain, no sadness, just a cold, crystal clear understanding. This slap just cost you $2 million, I said quietly. That's my new price for what you've all put me through. I'll see you at the gala. I walked out of that house and I never looked back. Well, not until I returned to destroy them completely. The next day, Bella panicked. She went on the local news, tears streaming down her face, talking about her troubled sister who was blackmailing the family with fabricated evidence. She played the victim beautifully, I'll give her that. Years of practice pretending to be something she wasn't had made her a convincing actress. Social media exploded. My company's stock took a minor hit. I got death threats from people who believed her story. I let it happen. Let her think she was winning. My parents called both of them on speakerphone, using the voices they reserved for business negotiations. Harper, we can settle this quietly. We'll pay you $5 million to destroy the evidence and never speak of this again. We'll even acknowledge you more at family events. $5 million and the scraps of their attention. That's what they thought I was worth. No, I said simply and hung up. They quartered back immediately, threatening to use their connections to destroy my company, to get me blacklisted from every major contract, to ruin me socially and professionally. You'll never work in this city again, my father promised. I'll make sure of it. I sent one text message back to both of them. See you tomorrow night. Wear something nice. The day of the gala arrived. I spent the morning with my team running through every detail of the plan. Marcus had hacked into the hotel's AV system. We controlled every screen, every speaker, every camera. I had FBI agents positioned throughout the venue dressed as waitstaff and guests. IRS investigators had warrants ready to execute. My lawyers had spent the previous 2 days securing a court order to seize my family's assets based on evidence of fraud and money laundering. I'd also done something else, something that would hurt my parents more than anything legal ever could. I'd bought the debt on my father's company. 3 years of bad investments and worse management had left Vance Enterprises underwater to the tune of $50 million. The bank holding the loans had been happy to sell to one of my shell corporations at a discount. As of that morning, my parents owed me everything, and they didn't even know it yet. I dressed carefully for the gala, a black Alexander McQueen gown that hugged every curve custom, made with hidden pockets for my phone and backup electronics. Louboutin heels that added 4 inches to my height. Hair pulled back in a severe bun that showed off the diamond earrings my grandmother had given me for my 21st birthday. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a warrior in designer armor. The venue was the Plaza Hotel, because of course it was. Nothing but the best for the Vance family's Grande Dame's 90th birthday. The ballroom glittered with baccarat chandeliers and was filled with Manhattan's social elite, politicians, celebrities, old money families that traced their lineage back to the Mayflower. 300 people all dressed in their finest, ready to celebrate and be seen celebrating. I arrived fashionably late alone and every head turned. I'd made sure of it. Marcus had tipped off the society photographers that there might be drama at the Vance party. The press was out in force. Inside, the party was already in full swing. My grandmother sat on a small throne-like chair on a raised platform looking regal in purple Valentino. She saw me enter and her face lit up. That smile at least was genuine and full of love. I made my way to her first, kissing her cheek. "Harper, darling, you look fierce," she whispered. "Are you about to do something I should be worried about?" "Only if you're worried about justice, Grandma," I whispered back. She squeezed my hand. "Give them hell, sweetheart." Across the room I saw my family. My father in a Tom Ford tuxedo holding court with a group of investment bankers. My mother in Dior, all elegant lines and cold beauty, chatting with the wives. And Bella, oh Bella, in a $50,000 Valentino gown, dripping in diamonds, about to accept an award for Philanthropist of the Year from some charity organisation she'd probably stolen from too. She saw me, and her face went pale, but she recovered quickly, pasting on a bright smile. She was good, I'd give her that, but I was better. The evening progressed according to schedule. Dinner was served, speeches were made, donations were pledged. All very civilised, very society, very fake. I ate my meal calmly, chatted pleasantly with the elderly banker seated next to me and waited. Finally, it was time for Bella's award. She stood up, smoothed her dress and walked to the stage. The spotlight hit her and she glowed beautiful and confident. She took the microphone and began her speech. "Thank you all so much for this incredible honour," she began, her voice warm and sincere. "Family is everything to me. It's the foundation of who we are, the bonds that sustain us through difficult times. My parents taught me the importance of giving back, of using our blessings to help those less fortunate. And I try every day to live up to that example." She paused, looking directly at me. "It's heartbreaking when family members lose their way, when they become consumed by jealousy and greed, but we must love them anyway, forgive them, pray that they find their path back to goodness. My sister Harper." That's when the lights went out. For 3 seconds, the ballroom was pitch black. Then, the massive LED screen behind Bella flickered to life, bathing her in harsh white light. My company's logo appeared, Fortress Security Solutions. Then my face, calm and professional. "Good evening," my recorded voice said. "I apologise for the interruption, but what you're about to see is more important than any award." Bella spun around, staring at the screen in horror. She grabbed for the microphone, but it had gone dead. I'd made sure of it. The video began. Security camera footage from the charity organisation offices, showing Bella forging signatures on checks, bank records scrolling past, highlighting the $2 million in theft. Then the audio recordings. Bella's voice clear as a bell, laughing about how stupid the cancer kids' parents were, how easy it was to steal from them. Bella instructing Reed to fabricate evidence against me. Bella planning to frame me for federal crimes. But I wasn't done. Next came footage I'd obtained from the dinner at the estate. Hidden camera I'd worn on my dress, something I always did when meeting with my family because I'd learned years ago to protect myself. My father's voice cold and calculating. "Cover for Bella. I don't care what it takes. Harper's always been expendable. This family's reputation is what matters. Then, the slap. In high definition from multiple angles, because I positioned my phone carefully before the confrontation. My father striking me hard enough to split my lip, calling me nothing, calling me a mistake. The ballroom erupted in chaos. People were shouting, cameras flashing, Bella was screaming, but no one could hear her over the sound system. The main doors opened. 6 FBI agents walked in, led by Special Agent Chen, whom I'd worked with on 3 major cases. Behind them, 4 IRS investigators. They moved through the crowd like sharks heading straight for the stage. I stood up from my table, and every eye in the room turned to me. I walked toward the stage slowly, deliberately, my heels clicking on the marble floor like a countdown to judgment. Bella saw me coming and tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. She was trapped on that stage in that spotlight in front of everyone she'd ever tried to impress. "Bella Vance," Agent Chen's voice rang out, "you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to obstruct justice." Bella's legs gave out. She would have fallen if the agents hadn't grabbed her arms. "No," she sobbed. "No, this isn't real. Harper did this. She's framing me. Tell them Daddy." But Daddy was busy with his own problems. The IRS investigators had reached him armed with warrants and very serious expressions. "Douglas Vance, we have evidence of tax fraud and money laundering. You're going to need to come with us." I climbed onto the stage. The spotlight found me, and I stood there looking down at my sister as the agents zip-tied her wrists. She was crying, makeup running, the perfect facade finally cracking to show the ugly truth underneath. I crouched down so I was eye level with her. "You always wanted to be the centre of attention," I said softly, just loud enough for her to hear over the chaos. "Congratulations! You've never been more visible." "I'm your sister," she whimpered. "How could you do this to me? You stopped being my sister when you tried to send me to federal prison to cover up your crimes," I replied. "You stopped being my sister every single day of my life when you watched them treat me like nothing and did nothing. Actually, no, you did worse than nothing. You enjoyed it." I stood up and turned to face the crowd. 300 of Manhattan's elite, all staring at me with expressions ranging from shock to approval to fear. I found the cameras, the ones broadcasting live to social media, and I looked directly into them. "My name is Harper Vance," I said, my voice carrying through the sound system. "For 28 years, I tried to earn the love of a family that was incapable of giving it. I sacrificed, I succeeded, I bent over backward, and it was never enough. Tonight, you've all seen why. Some families are toxic. Some families will destroy you if you let them. And sometimes the only way to save yourself is to cut out the cancer, no matter how much it hurts." I paused, letting that sink in. "If you're in a situation like I was, if you have family treating you like you're worthless while demanding everything from you, please know this. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. You are not required to accept abuse in the name of loyalty. And you are absolutely within your rights to protect yourself, even if that means walking away or, like me, fighting back." The crowd was silent now, hanging on every word. I saw some people nodding. I saw some wiping tears. I saw my mother sitting frozen at her table, her perfect mask finally shattered. "The authorities will be sorting out the legal details of my family's crimes," I continued. "But I want to be clear about one thing. I gave them chances. So many chances. I tried to handle this privately to give them the opportunity to do the right thing. They chose war instead. So I gave them war. And I won." I looked at my grandmother, still sitting on her throne, watching everything with sharp, clear eyes. She nodded at me just once. Permission, blessing, pride. "I'm done with the Vance family," I said. "As of tonight, I'm legally changing my name to Harper Sterling. But before I go, I have one more announcement." I pulled out my phone and projected another document onto the screen. Loan papers, debt certificates. 3 months ago, I purchased all outstanding debts owed by Vance Enterprises. My parents owe me personally $50 million. Effective immediately, I'm calling in that debt. Their properties, their assets, Everything they own will be seized to cover what they owe. They'll be bankrupt by Monday. My mother finally found her voice. Harper, please, she called out, standing up, her carefully maintained composure crumbling. Please, sweetheart, we can talk about this. We're family. I looked at her, this woman who'd given birth to me, but had never been a mother and felt nothing. You told me once that I wasn't good enough to carry the Vance name, I said. You were right. I'm better than that name. I don't need it, and I certainly don't need you. She rushed toward the stage, stumbling in her heels, and when she reached me, she did something I'd never seen her do in my entire life. She got on her knees. Eleanor Avance, socialite, Queen of Manhattan in her designer gown, on her knees in front of 300 witnesses grabbing at my dress. Please, she sobbed. Please, Harper, we have nowhere to go. Everything we have is tied up in the company. The house, the cars, everything. You can't do this. I'm your mother. I looked down at her, and for just a moment, I let myself remember. Remember being 7 years old, asking why I wasn't good enough for the good toys. Remember being 12, crying after my father missed another robotics competition. Remember being 16, trying so hard to make them proud. Remember being 25, handing over $500,000 because my sister cried. Then I remembered everything else. The contempt, the neglect, the cruelty, the slap. I reached down and gently, but firmly, removed her hands from my dress. You gave birth to me, I said quietly. But you were never my mother. Mothers protect their children. Mothers love their children. Mothers don't stand by while one child abuses the other. You had 28 years to be my mother. You chose not to. I'm not going to give you a 29th chance. I straightened up and walked away. Behind me, I heard her wailing, heard my father shouting threats about lawyers and appeals, heard Bella screaming obscenities as the agents led her away. I walked through that crowd with my head held high past the shocked faces and flashing cameras past the people who'd known my family for decades and were seeing the truth for the first time. My grandmother stopped me at the door. Harper, she said softly. Grandma, I'm not going to stop you, she interrupted. You did what you had to do, what you should have done years ago. I'm proud of you. Come with me, I said impulsively. You don't need to stay with them. She smiled, sad and wise. I'm 90 years old, sweetheart, too old to start over. But you... She touched my cheek gently. You're going to fly. Don't let anyone clip your wings ever again. I hugged her, breathing in her Chanel number, knowing it might be the last time. Then, I left the Plaza Hotel, left my family, left my old life behind. The next 6 months were a whirlwind of legal proceedings. Bella was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for fraud, embezzlement, and attempted obstruction of justice. My father got 3 years for his role in covering up her crimes and his own tax fraud. My mother avoided prison time by cooperating with authorities, but lost everything else. The mansion was sold at auction. The cars, the jewellery, the art collection, all of it liquidated to pay debts. They ended up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens, the kind of place they would have once looked down on with disdain. My mother got a job as a receptionist at a dentist's office. My father, unable to find work in finance, with a criminal record, drove for Uber. I heard all this through the society gossip columns, which covered their fall with the same gleeful attention they'd once given to their triumphs. I should probably feel guilty about that. Some people told me I'd gone too far, that family should forgive family, that I was too harsh. Those people had never lived my life. They'd never been the scapegoat, the unwanted child, the one who was only valued when they could be useful. As for me, I thrived. Fortress Security Solutions grew by 200% in those 6 months. Turned out publicly, taking down my own corrupt family, earned me a reputation for integrity that money couldn't buy. Companies wanted to work with someone who'd chosen justice over personal relationships. I became the face of ethical business practices, got invited to speak at conferences, was featured on the cover of Forbes. But the best part, the part that made everything worthwhile, was what I did with that old charity of Bella's. I bought it out, restructured it completely, and renamed it the Sterling Foundation. It became my passion project, funding medical care for children with cancer, supporting families who couldn't afford treatment, and most importantly, helping kids who'd been abused or neglected by their own families. I set up a scholarship program specifically for kids from dysfunctional homes. Kids who were told they weren't good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. Every year, I personally read applications and chose recipients. Every year, I told them the same thing. You are not your family's mistakes. You are not their cruelty. You are not obligated to earn love that should be freely given. My grandmother passed away 8 months after the gala peacefully in her sleep. She left me everything in her personal estate, which came to about $30 million. The money was nice, but the letter she left was worth more. Harper, she'd written in her elegant script. I always knew you were special. I'm sorry I didn't protect you more from them. But I'm not sorry you protected yourself. Be fierce, be free, be happy. You've earned it. I framed that letter and hung it in my office, where I could see it every day. About a year after everything went down, I got a call from my mother. She'd somehow gotten my new private number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. Harper, she said, her voice small and tired. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. You're right, I said. I don't. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of it. I was a terrible mother. I know that now. And I understand if you can never forgive me, but I need you to know that I regret everything. I sat with that for a moment. Part of me, the part that was still that little girl who wanted her mummy to love her, wanted to accept it, wanted to believe it, wanted to give her another chance. But I'd learnt something important over the past year. Some apologies come too late. Some damage can't be undone. And some people only regret their actions when they face consequences, not because they genuinely understand the harm they've caused. Thank you for saying that, I replied. I genuinely hope you mean it. I hope you've learned and grown, but I don't forgive you and I don't want you in my life. Maybe that makes me cold. Maybe that makes me harsh. But it makes me healthy. Please, Harper. I've lost everything. Your father barely speaks to me. Bella won't take my calls from prison. I'm alone. You're all I have left. No, I said firmly. I'm not all you have left. You have yourself, which is more than you ever gave me. You have the opportunity to examine your choices and become a better person. You have a chance to live with integrity going forward, even if you didn't before. That's more than enough. But family, we're not family, I interrupted. We share DNA, but that's all. Family are the people who love you unconditionally, who support you, who celebrate your victories and comfort you in defeat. You never did any of those things. So no, we're not family. And we never will be. I hung up before she could respond. Then I blocked her number. Blocked my father's number too, though he'd never called. Blocked every avenue they had to reach me. That night, I sat in my penthouse looking out over the glittering Manhattan skyline, and I felt something I'd never felt before in relation to my biological family. Peace. Not happiness exactly, not triumph, though there was some of that too. Just peace. The quiet certainty that I'd done the right thing, that I'd protected myself, that I'd survived. I poured myself a glass of wine, the good stuff from my own personal collection, and I raised it in a toast to myself, to the scared little girl who became a fierce woman, to the daughter who was never good enough, who built her own empire, to Harper Sterling, who chose herself when no one else would. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it, expecting Marcus with a work question. Instead, it was a call from an unknown number. For a second, I almost declined it. Then something made me answer. Hello, Ms. Sterling. This is Reed, the investigator from... I remember, I said. What can I do for you? I just wanted to thank you, he said. After everything went down after I testified, I thought my career was over. But you gave me a reference, helped me get licensed in corporate security. I'm working with good people now, doing real work. You saved my life. I smiled. You saved your own life when you chose to tell the truth. I just helped you land. Still, if you ever need anything at all, you call me. I owe you everything. After we hung up, I sat there thinking, how many people had my family hurt over the years? How many people had they used, manipulated, discarded? And now, how many people were better off because I'd stopped them? It wasn't about revenge, or at least it wasn't only about revenge. It was about justice. It was about protecting other people from their toxicity. It was about standing up and saying, no, this ends here with me. I thought about all the women and men out there right now suffering in toxic family situations, being told they're not good enough, being used, being abused, being manipulated into thinking that blood obligation means accepting mistreatment. I thought about how many of them stay because they hope things will change, because they're scared of being alone, because they've been convinced they don't deserve better. If my story could help even one person understand that they have the right to walk away, that they have the right to protect themselves, that they have the right to choose their own happiness over their family's dysfunction, then everything I went through was worth it. I'm not going to lie and say it's been easy. There are still moments when I miss having a family, even a terrible one. There are still holidays where I feel the ache of being alone, even though I'm surrounded by friends who love me. There are still times when I see a mother and daughter laughing together in a coffee shop and feel a pang of grief for what I never had. But those moments are getting fewer and farther between, and they're far outweighed by the moments of joy, of freedom, of living authentically, without the weight of their expectations and cruelty dragging me down. I built a new family. Marcus is like a brother to me, the one I should have had. My team at Fortress is my family. The kids I helped through the foundation, watching them grow and succeed, they're my family. My grandmother's memory, the love she gave me, that's my family too. Today, I'm 29 years old. I run a company worth $500 million. I live in a penthouse that still takes my breath away every morning when I wake up. I drive a Tesla that I actually drive now because I've learnt to enjoy life outside of work. I date occasionally, though. I'm picky because I know my worth now. I travel to places my family never would have approved of. I wear what I want. I say what I think. I live freely. And you know what? The best part is, last week I got a letter from a young woman named Sarah. She's 17, from a wealthy family that treats her terribly, favours her older brother, makes her feel worthless. She saw an interview I gave about my story. She wrote to tell me that she's applying to colleges far away from home, saving money, in a secret account planning her escape. You showed me that I don't have to accept this forever, she wrote. You showed me that I can build my own life on my own terms, and that's not selfish or wrong. That's survival. I cried when I read that letter. Then I wrote her back, told her about the Sterling Foundation scholarship, told her that when she's ready to leave, she won't be alone, that there's a whole community of people like us, people who chose themselves, who built new families, who thrived after cutting out the toxicity. So here's what I want you to understand. Here's the message I want to scream from the rooftops. You are not obligated to maintain relationships that destroy you. You are not selfish for protecting yourself. You are not wrong for demanding respect, love, and basic human decency. And if your family can't or won't give you those things, you have every right to walk away and build a life with people who will. It's not easy. It's not simple. There will be guilt, doubt, grief. People will judge you. They'll say, you're too harsh, too unforgiving, too cold. Let them. They don't know your story. They don't know what you've endured. They don't get a vote in your healing. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your future. And if that means walking away from people who share your DNA, then walk, run, fly. Don't look back except to remind yourself how far you've come. I did, and I've never been more successful, more fulfilled, or more genuinely happy than I am right now. The girl who wasn't good enough became the woman who was too good for them. And that's not revenge. That's justice. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to cut ties with toxic family members? Are you struggling with whether to stay or go? Drop your story in the comments. Let's build a community of people who understand that family isn't about blood. It's about love, respect, and mutual support. And if you found value in my story, if it resonated with you or gave you hope, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they have the power to change their situation. Together, we can break the cycle of accepting abuse in the name of family loyalty. Together, we can choose ourselves and build the lives we deserve.